Hello, this is Dr. Cooper. I'm going to talk about your solo projects again today. So, how does the solo project take shape? Well, that's an easy question. I can see here that you can see here that I'm on the solo project page, Contemporary Writers. And the key thing is that you are focusing on 1970 to the present. So if you find yourself reading and writing about slavery or civil rights or anything prior to civil rights movement, then you are not really focusing on contemporary writers. So here's the key thing though. Everything that you've been doing, you've been working on these solo projects, SP1 all the way down. I think you're probably at SP6 right now. You're doing a research assignment. All of these assignments are just little pieces of your solo project. And I'm going to show you an example of those little pieces and what it should look like. So these little pieces you should be adding to your blog. So you each have a blog. I can go in here and see the blogs for this class. If I go in, I can see everyone's blog. There's 13 of you. So here you can see your blogs. And when I click on your name, it should show me what you've posted. So I can see that many of you have not been doing much. If you should have at least 6 posts on there. And what I mean by 6 posts, then this is what I mean. So, well, not 6, because the first one is just to create the blog. So if you have the blog, that's 1. If you wrote your research proposal, that's 2. If you did a working bibliography, that's 3. Now, hence the word is working. How many of you have gone back and added anything to that lately? I can tell that many of you have not, because if you update a page or add a page, it shows up here. So when I click on these, I can see that very few of you are doing what needs to be done to create a solo project. So the solo project is not in itself just these small assignments. These are the start. Let me give you an example. Working bibliography was worth 3 points as SP3. And if you put down at least 2 sources, you got 3 points. But when you finish your solo project, what am I looking for? I'm looking for more than 3 sources. So your project might look something like this. But this student didn't follow directions. So you can see here that she has the things that she needs. She's writing about Richard Wright. She tells you a little bit about that. There's a little bit of media, which is required. She does an analysis. Okay, she does 2 analysis, and then she does 3 analysis. That's good. So that was probably plenty there for that. She also does the historical and cultural background. She adds a few images to add that. And also she added some sound, audio. If you click on that, it plays an audio. She didn't do that right, but that's okay. She did it. And then down here, she talks about the trends of the contemporary era, which was another part of the assignment. And then some literary terms, which was another solo project assignment. The major authors and works of that period. And basically all I'm doing is just scrolling down. And you can see that it's a lot of text. A lot of text. Every so often she added a picture or so. And then there's her work in bibliography. That's not really what I'm looking for. This will get you a score, but it's not going to get you what this project is all about. So let's go back up and look at it again. So here are the things that you must do, these 2 things here. For one, you've all chosen your novel, the author, or the text that you are going to read. Okay? Some of you, no one actually chose a theme, but everyone else has either a book or an author. Next, we have a method of collecting research. Well, how are you going to collect your research and keep track of it all? That's all individual how you do that. Are you going to have a notebook? Do you have a file? Do you have a Dropbox folder? Do you have a Google Drive folder in your Gmail account or in your Google Drive account that you keep track of all of this? And then you need a mode of delivery, and that's your blog. So your blog that you've created, here we see Felicia's blog that she has created is her solo project. Okay. You also need a variety of scholarly sources, and that's what I try to help you to find by giving you these assignments down here. So you are expected to use the web, books, periodical articles, and reference materials. If I look at your Works Cited page, which is what it is actually called for the final project, right now, when you're still working on the project, it's called a working bibliography. She didn't get either one right, okay? But we do see that she has a collection of sources, but I'm looking for books. There's one. She has a book. That's the book that she's actually reading, not her research. I'm looking for scholarly journal articles. Okay. I'm looking for web. Here's a web. Okay. This looks like it might be a scholarly journal article. Okay. I'm also looking for, here's a book. So I'm looking for the variety of sources that are required. Books, periodicals, reference materials. So you need to make sure that that's clear in your research that you used all of those. But here's why many people don't get an A on this project. It's because they have not included any multimedia elements. Again, if I go back and look at Felicia's presentation, it's all text and it's all scrolling. Who's going to take the time to scroll through? Even when there is some audio, it's not clear that it's audio because it's just a link. So you have to learn how to create a multimedia presentation where you add pictures, audio, graphics, animations, and video. And these things can be added or created by you. It's really simple to create a video. You all have cell phones. You can record yourself talking about your project or about your author or answering one of the SP5 projects that you're working on. Okay? So let's look quickly at how you should set up your blog so that it doesn't become just this big, long scroll fest. How do we create it? Well, in each of the assignments, I tell you to create a page. So for instance, if you are using Blogger, you can see that I have several blogs here. I'm going to go ahead and click on this down arrow here, and I'm going to go to Pages. And I'm going to create pages. Now there's several pages that I need. I know I'm going to need a working bibliography page. Okay, so right now I'm going to go ahead and call the page a works cited page because I know in the end this page will need to be called a works cited page. So I'm going to go ahead and say works cited. Okay, and then on the page I'm just going to write working bibliography because I can edit this later. So what I'm going to do now is go and get my working bibliography. I'm just going to use Felicia's here so you can see I'm going to use all of Felicia's work. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and cut and paste my working bibliography / works cited page onto this page. And then obviously I would need to format it, but for now I'm going to leave it like this. And in some cases I know that the formatting doesn't hold, so we're going to be okay with that. So I'm going to go ahead and save this page and I'm going to publish it as well. Okay, so now I have a works cited page. Now I need another new page. What's another page that I might need? So let's go back to the solo project. Okay, and I haven't even gotten to our objectives yet, but the objectives really match up with these assignments that you're working on. So working bibliography, literary analysis. You know that you're going to have to do several literary analysis for this project. You have to do 1, 2, 3. So you need a page for that. So let's go back to my blogger. I'm going to call this page literary analysis. Okay, and then I'm going to cut and paste my 3 literary analysis. Now remember, if you've only written one paragraph for your first literary analysis, that's not going to be enough. So here you can see that Felicia has done 3. So here's the first one. I'm just going to go ahead and copy the first one. Now, it's all text. So what is she writing about? It's so easy to add some text to this or some images and video to this. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and add that in there. And I'm going to break it up a little bit. So this one she's writing about her book, Black Boy and Richard Wright. What I could easily do is find an image. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Google. And we don't want to just steal people's images. So let's go Black Boy, Richard Wright. We want to be able to take images that are available for us to use. And the way you do that is you go into, images. And now I'm going to go into search tools. And I want to click usage rights. And I want to say that I want to be able to use images that are labeled for reuse. So these are people that are saying, yes, you can reuse my images on your page. All right, so now I got a lot of pictures of Richard Wright, not so many of the book itself, but it doesn't need to be of the book or of him. Something that might just pop up in here could be of interest that adds some dimension to the page. I like this one. So I'm going to go ahead and click this. And then to save it, I'm just going to click right click, save image as. Now the other thing that I have to also do is, so there's I'm just going to shorten this, rich, right? And save it to my desktop. I need to capture the where it came from. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that. All right, so now I'm going to go back to my Blogger page, and I'm going to add that picture right here. So right here where it says insert image, and I'm going to choose from my files. I'm going to find that image. Where did it go? Rich, right? There it is. I'm going to open it. Okay. And so that's going to add that to my page. So I click add selected, and boom, there it is. Okay, so I can make it bigger just by clicking on it, make it small, medium, large, and if I want it to be to the left, which is what I was intending, I put it over there. I'm going to go ahead and give this a bold, actually I want to make it a heading, and so now I have a heading for Black Boy, and I'm going to publish this page. So now all three of my literary analysis will show up on this page, and I just keep doing that. Every time you're asked to add something to your page, I'm going to create a page. Let's do one more, just so you can see. Go back to the solo project. So one of the things that you have to do is research on your topic. So we have research assignment 2, research assignment 1. You also have the section on major authors and works. And most of you started doing your historical and cultural backgrounds. Let's do that page. So we're going to copy that, go over to here. We're going to name this page. And then I'm going to go and grab my content from historical background. And in this case, she actually already has some images. I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And then I'm just going to paste it, see if those images come over. They did. So the only thing that didn't come over is this SoundCloud. So let's go back and look at that again. So here, if we click on this, we can see that it is an audio, and it starts to play. Okay. So one of the things that you'll want to do is be able to share this audio. Now every site's going to be different, but SoundCloud's a really good one. Right here where it says share, if I click share, it then gives me the embed code. So if I click embed code, if you're using WordPress, you click this. If you're not using WordPress, you go ahead and just grab the code. Okay. And I'm going to go back to my Blogger, and let's try to switch over to, oh, here it is, HTML. Ooh, looks scary. I'm just going to add it to the bottom here. Add that code to the HTML. Come back to compose, and look at that. That little thing popped up in the bottom. So when I publish this page, now that will play. So let's take a look at this page that I've created. Or it's not just a page, it's the whole project. So I'm going to go ahead and click on View My Blog. So you can see that there's nothing on the front page, and you can't see that my pages have popped up because that is my theme. So I'm going to have to edit my design so that my pages will show up. And you'll see that if you click on Layout. So what we're trying to do is get our pages to show. So right underneath our header, we want to be able to have the pages display. So right here where it says cross column, I'm going to add a gadget. And then I'm going to scroll down to pages, and I'm going to add the plus. Okay, and so what that allows me to then do is select all of the pages and then save that. And so now when I look at my blog, I can see those pages that I just created. Okay, so just remember, it's in design, it's in layout, and it is then, you can put it anywhere, but this is the best place to put it, cross column, right underneath your header. So it doesn't matter where it is as long as it shows up. Sometimes it'll show up over here. So for instance, I could go add a gadget and then scroll down to pages and add pages again. I'm going to select them all. And this time I'm going to save. And so now I have pages on the side as well. So when I go ahead and click View My Blog, now I have the pages here. and I have the pages here. And when you click on them, they will show up with the content that you have added to it, including audio, visual images, and any videos that you might add to these pages as well. Okay, so this is what we're looking for when we talk about a solo project. And these elements all have to be there. So how will you be graded? Again, it goes back to these things here, because these are the objectives. All right, so what does that mean? These are the things that you're supposed to be learning by doing this project. Think of this project as you're a teacher and you're teaching other people about your topic. Your job is to educate them. Now, would you want to read a bunch of text with nothing exciting to look at to help kind of break up the text? No. So the same thing, your audience is the same way. They want it to be a nice, pretty visual element to look at. So how are you going to demonstrate that you have analyzed and present results of independent reading? How do I know you read your book? Well, that's where you're going to add in your research and your analysis articles. Okay, that goes right with your literary analysis. Okay, here's another one you're going to be graded on. Describe the historical and cultural background of the major period in African American literature history. Okay, so you're describing it, but don't forget to relate it to your topic. Don't just list a bunch of people that wrote during this time period. That's boring. How does it relate to what you're doing? Okay, did your author even know of these other people? Did they write similarly to these other people? Okay, so that's what this is, and that is clearly what this is. Okay, and then identify characteristics of the major movements and trends in African American contemporary literature. Okay, that's what the whole class is about. You're focusing on the very last major movement, which is just the contemporary age, but a lot of your authors did do some writing about civil rights, slavery, so you're identifying and acknowledging that you know what these topics are. And if you don't know what they are, just go into modules, and then the modules are designed to tell you oral traditions. That's a trend. Harlem Renaissance, the New Negro Renaissance, the Civil Rights era. Okay, these are what I'm talking about when we talk about the major movements and eras of American literature, African American literature. Okay, so that's what that is. Going down here. Identify major authors and works of African American literature in the post-Civil Civil Rights era. Again, your author is not the only one out there. Who else was writing? Give me a list and talk about those people. This can be done with the other one where you're talking about the trends and the major movements and so forth. You can do a really good job of putting those two parts together. It doesn't mean that each part has to be done separately. And then critically evaluate literature works for by your selected African American writer. So again, that is not just an analysis, but you're evaluating the work itself. Was the work a good work? Was it famous? Why was it famous? This is where your research comes in. What do other people have to say about this work? And that's why you need to make sure that you go to the library and you're looking at stuff more than just the web. You're looking at books, periodical articles, and reference materials to help you with that part. Okay, so this is a long video, but hopefully it's helpful so that you can see what your project should look like. It should not just be one long scrolling. Now, what should go on the home page? That's pretty easy. Think about it. When you show up at a website, what do you need to know? Well, in this case, people are going to show up here and they're going to go, ENG114 solo project. I wonder what this website is all about. Well, you're going to tell them because that was one of your first assignments. If you remember, you were supposed to write a research proposal. And so that research proposal would be a great place to put, great thing to put on your front page. Okay, it'd be a good place for you to describe to your audience what it is that you're going to be doing here and how they should navigate. Tell them they need to click on your pages to learn more about your project. If you want to learn about the historical and cultural background, if you want to learn about the literary analysis that you've done on the book that you're reading, who is the author that you're writing about? What is the book that you're reading? All of that should be very clear on the first page. Make sure it's visually appealing. What kind of a picture? Don't put any personal information. It's not about you as a person. It's about the author and the work that you are evaluating. Okay? So that's pretty much it for this.